It all started a long time ago when a powerful baron fell in love with a beautiful maiden. To win her love, he built a gigantic mansion. It took him 17 long years, but he did it. Wait a minute. 17 years? My women back then must have been more patient than nowadays. Anyway, finally, on the day they got married, he brought his new bride to the house. He swept her into his arms and ran up the steps, then pushed the massive door open for the very first time. He stepped across the floor and splat. He forgot to put in a floor. Doofus. And ever since they plunged to their horrible bloody deaths, there has been a curse on the house, and few have dared to enter. Oh, sure, there were those that said they didn't believe in haunted houses, at least until they crossed the threshold of death. For years, nobody bought the house, until one day a scary hooded guy, whose face nobody ever saw, decided to put the house to better use. At an amusement park, obviously. And right there in the middle of the park, he made the scariest ride ever, a ride through a real haunted house. Bloodstone Manor. Thus begins Season 4, Episode 4 of Nickelodeon's slice of life animated sitcom, Doug, aptly titled Doug's Halloween Adventure. Really? Season 4? Seemed a lot earlier than that when I was a kid. Anyway, the story focuses on the opening of a new attraction at Funky Town, the aforementioned amusement park located in Bluffington. As advertised, a haunted house ride allegedly centered around a real legendary haunted house. Doug's best friend, Skeeter, plans on taking Doug to Funky Town to ride Bloodstone Manor at the grand opening. Unfortunately, Doug, being the nervous wreck that he is, has some misgivings about riding the ride. And you know what? I can totally relate. I myself can feel very nervous about trying out new things, new experiences, especially if the new things in question contains possible dangers. And I'm pretty sure Doug and I aren't the only ones alone here either. Anyway, after much stalling on Doug's part, Skeeter and Doug, along with local bully Roger, finally make it to the ride, only for the announcement that the park would soon be closing. However, the house opens up again, and they sneak in for one last ride. Unfortunately, the ride closes down in the middle, and Doug and Skeeter have to find a way out, leaving behind an all too frightened Roger. They find the exit, get the train running again, but discover Roger is missing. So now they have to go back into the haunted house to find their missing comrade. Now, this is one of the best Halloween episodes in the history of my childhood. Why? Well, first, unlike any of the other Halloween specials I've reviewed thus far, this one actually takes place on my beloved holiday, Halloween! Where costumed children journey from day until dusk, walking about in suburban forests of dark, creepy houses, collecting candy from neighbors who somehow turn to the darkest recesses of macabre and gothic imaginings. Oh God, I love this holiday! Second, it opens with and is centered around a truly awesome ghost story. Not to mention a very awesome concept. I mean, just think about it. A haunted house ride built around a real haunted house. And Bloodstone Manor leans on some urban legends surrounding it too, to boot. Such as mysterious disappearances that occurred on some workers installing the ride and the stuff about the maniac. What maniac? Well, that mysterious hooded figure who bought the house, he's said to still be lurking inside the house. Third, the maniac. It turns out there actually is a hooded figure lurking about in Bloodstone Manor, as Doug and Skeeter soon discover. For all we know, he's just an actor trying to clock out of his job, but whenever he's on screen, he's a pretty menacing presence. He's dark, he's creepy, he's mysterious, and he has a voice very reminiscent of 80s/90s slasher figure Freddy Krueger. Now, I did some research and I couldn't find any evidence that he's voiced by Robert Englund, so if they ever want to do a Nightmare on Elm Street animated series, at least we know who they can turn to. Despite his imposing presence, though, he does turn out to be a pretty cool guy, and eventually decides to help Doug and Skeeter find Roger, and gleefully helps them out further when, well, I don't want to spoil the whole episode for you, now do I? All that being said, this is a very enjoyable Halloween episode. There's doom and gloom, suspenseful overtones of darkness and dread, but nothing too scary for that the whole family can't enjoy. After all, it's the holy trinity of the original Nicktoons. Nothing should be too scary there. But you know what? That's Halloween for you. At its thematic core, there's nothing that should be too scary for kids. I mean, I'm in the school of thought that kids should enjoy the scares just as much as adults, and this episode is a good way into it. Hey, if you like this episode, click like and subscribe to view more in the near future. Also, comment below. I would love to hear from you. I'm Mike, this has been a Penguins Rock production, and a chill has fallen in the year. Darkness is presently near. Pumpkins and goblins are everywhere seen. Don't you know? It's Halloween.